All right, welcome back to the hangar. So I've been going through doing the radio setup for this. I got the sequencer for the gear working perfectly. I did have to pull the, I forget who makes it. What was it? A buddy of mine sent me one of these to try. The Jetronic gear door sequencer and things like that. The problem with it is because I need an unlock and a front door and a back door plus gear. It just didn't have enough programming capability to do what I wanted. And it just was, honestly, I know it's not harder than the Xikoi, but I think because I've done the Xikoi so much now, it was harder to do that one's. But anyways, it is a more simple setup on that one, but I couldn't do what I needed to do with this particular model. So I pulled it, put a Xikoi in, Xikoi, everybody call it, I mean, I know it's Chikoi. I've known that for years, but everybody calls it Xikoi. So welcome to the US, I guess. But the Xikoi sequencer that everybody hates, and even I do, because it's like as many times as I've done it, because every model I have has it in there, I still have to sit down and about pull my hair out trying to figure out the sequencing. But I'm finally getting to that point where it's starting to make sense. And what I did is put it on the table, put some servos on it, and went through it, and it makes it much easier than trying to do it in the aircraft. So I do recommend doing that before you install it. And what I also did is I finally figured out how to get it set up for one lead, like doing like an S-bus. I was having issues with that before, where I ended up just having to run 2 leads, one for the normal control channel plus one to your telemetry. Well, I figured it out on this one, but still couldn't do that because of the gyro. The gyro is using apparently it's using the S-Bus 2. And when I plugged the sequencer in via an S-Bus port, it was giving me a loss of signal to the sequencer. So it was kind of going on and off, on and off, on and off. So it was cycling off, cycling on. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I unplugged the gyro, plugged that one in by itself, and it worked fine. So I was like, well, crap, I can't have the gyro plus the sequencer on the S-Bus 2. Even though you should technically be able to assign, like you do in the S-Bus port, you assign it to whatever telemetry you want. So it uses that telemetry ID, and then it will use its channel. Well, I guess the way their gyro is set up, it doesn't allow that to work properly. So I don't know. I'm tired of trying to figure out Futaba. I love Futaba. I will stay Futaba unless I find something better that I want, but their programming sucks and their ideology about how they do things sucks. But I've said that plenty in the past. But anyways, so what I did is I ended up went to the traditional setup because I was trying to save channels because I didn't have the extra port. And I couldn't plug my telemetry the telemetry right into the power, the DLP-H2. So what I ended up doing is running one wire via the typical channel 5 for your gear. And then I ran a second wire from the sequencer straight to the number 1 receiver S-Bus 2 port. So if I lose that receiver and it switches to the second one, I will lose pressure telemetry, and that's it. I still have full control because it's going through the power system versus running one wire from the sequencer into the S-Bus 2 port on the power system, which is what I originally had set up. But because of that gyro, the way the Futaba gyro works, it uses an S-Bus 2 and an S-Bus port, and it was messing it up. So I got it to work. It's all working now. I just had to go to a 2-wire setup versus a 1-wire. No big deal. Anyways, that's beating that dead horse. But it's working, works great, lasts a long time. And yeah, so essentially everything's really done. Now I'm just doing the final adjusting throws. I got the canopy working, I got the locks working on it, and everything. I've got all the wires replugged in. I do have to go through and check each amps on each servo just for the LM2 inspection stuff, but I'll do that here shortly. But what I did run into when I was setting up throws for the flaps, the trailing edge, the flaps needed some sanding. Like when they go down, the bottom part of this skin was hitting and not letting it go very far. So I had to keep sanding this whole line, the wing part, not the flap, but the wing part on the bottom to allow it to keep moving down. So as I sanded this line back, it allowed the flap to go down further and further and further until I could get what I want. So and it's not clean, but it's perfect. But that's, it's getting there now. So I got the flaps done, and the flaps actually work like ailerons. So you have to have an up too if you want to set that up. So center position, center throw of the servo is there. So down, you got 2 settings for flaps, and then when you're doing flaperons, it works like an aileron. These things have so much slop in them. God. Anyways, so I got the 2 flaps sanded. Leading edge isn't an issue either. I did take at the front up here where this metal peg comes out of the fuselage. That's basically just that this leading edge flap sits in. It's like a guide pin that comes out of the fuselage. I did adjust and take this and cut a little bit on the top so the flap would go down further. Versus it was kind of stopping right there. So now I'm getting the full range that I want on the leading edge flap. And right now I'm just working on these. So I was running into a throw issue, not being able to get the full amount that I wanted. Even though this was all trimmed earlier for that, what I didn't realize was these covers were limiting me. So now that once I figured that out, I just went back and I started trimming right here to allow them to go and get full travel. So now I got a lot more travel, the travel that I need. Got more up than I need. The problem is the down, but it's not very often that you're going full deflection up on your sticks. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. And I noticed that this bracket that this whole stab bolts to is loose. Look at that. So hopefully I can get to those bolts in here and tighten those up. So I got to check that. I got to check that one. So that's all I've been doing is just trimming right here on both sides of this cover that we glued on. And now it's going full deflection, and we're good there. So I just finished the second one, and I ended up dropping my damn radio. Well, it slid off the table here, and I kind of caught it with my foot, and it hit and broke this switch off. No big deal, they're replaceable, but it's never good to drop your remote. Doesn't seem to be, that switch still functions, but I got to replace my switch. Boo. But anyways, that's what this video is kind of about, just showing you kind of, once you kind of get it to a point, you may have to go back and do some fine tuning for sanding. So this thing, the programming is going to be a little weird because I'm using the Tailoron setting in the radio. So, but you still have to have 2 channels for ailerons, even though you don't have traditional ailerons. So you can't just do like a flaperon Tailoron. When you use the Tailoron feature in the radio, it still requires those 2 aileron channels. So I was hoping when I thought about it, I was like, oh man, I could free up 2 channels to plug stuff in. No, don't work that way. So, but anyway, so you'll have your typical up and down, for elevator, but it'll also work aileron. That'll be all the time. And what I'm going to do for this is when I'm doing takeoff and landing, the flaperon is going to be just a normal flap. Takeoff flap, full flap. And then when I go airborne and the gear comes up and I turn the flaps back off, it will then become a flaperon. Because what I've seen, or what I saw in a video of a gentleman that flew one of these, one of the very first ones, he mentioned that, yeah, you can do that, but it causes those wings to drop and tip. Which, I mean, you think about it, when you're coming in for landing, if you take one up to help control the model, that wing's obviously going to drop. And that's kind of the issue. And you could you could easily mix it where it and still fly it that way, like you like the F-18s, you know, when those ailerons come down, you're still doing this part, but it causes more wing drop. So, and with a gyro, I think it will kind of fight you, which could cause you to kind of tip stall easier. I don't know what the thing behind it is, but to just eliminate that, I'm going to take the flaperon out when the gear is down and the flaps are in, for like a landing configuration. So, but when it's up in the air and I'm just doing normal maneuvers, these will work as ailerons and these will work as ailerons elevator too. So a lot of talking, sorry. But yeah, getting there. I'm about to finish up the programming. The rudders are done. Flaps are done. Finishing the stabs, the cockpit, or the nose, or I'm sorry, the canopy, close, lock, unlock is done. I do need to check the speed brake real quick, but after that, that is the programming. So then it's just getting it all tidied up and checking, getting all the voltages for the LMT2, T2, yeah. Inspection checklist, and then final CG, and then do the inspection, and then maiden. So yeah, pretty much done. Just little things that seem to take up the most time. Oh yeah, and I did run out of channels, channel ports, not channels, but ports on the DLP2H. So what I did, and I'm using this for something. I think it's for the leading edge. Yeah. So what I did is to get an extra channel. I ran out of channels having to do the sequencer change. I combined the two leading edge flaps on one channel. So they're plugged into an S-Bus hub with one lead going to the S-Bus 1 port on the actual power system. So to do the programming, when you do that, because when you adjust, say, channel 15, it's adjusting both. So if they're not matched, you have to match the servos, and then once they're matched, the channel adjustments like endpoint, center point, travel, limit, all that stuff will work. So that's the great thing about S-Bus, is I just plug in directly to the servo, make the adjustments, make these two servos, these two leading edge flaps match through, you know, mid travel, endpoints, center points, and once that's done in the servo, now I can go back and adjust what kind of throw I need for takeoff and landing and things like that. So just one thing I wanted to show you guys that I'd added, but yeah. So all right, so that's it. I am going to call it on this video. I know it's a long-winded video and everything, but just wanted to kind of update you. So I got to check all these things. But you guys have a good one. Finishing my coffee here. Cheers. See you later.